You've joined us for another deep dive, and this time, well, you've handed us something truly massive.
Hmm.
It's a meta-analysis from the Educational Psychology Review called Factors Associated with Teacher Well-Being. And honestly, what stopped us in our tracks was just the sheer scale of it.
Yeah, it's huge.
173 different studies, all crunched together. That represents, what, nearly 90,000 teachers.
Almost 90,000, yeah. It really highlights just how complex teacher well-being is, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
no single study could possibly capture all the nuances involved.
Right.
So this kind of large-scale analysis, it lets us see the forest for the trees, find those really consistent, powerful patterns.
Exactly. Like going from reading a couple of online reviews to seeing the aggregated ratings from thousands of users. So our goal in this deep dive is to navigate all this information
Mm.
and really pull out the most significant insights about what truly shapes how teachers are doing. We want to give you the essence, without you needing to spend weeks reading every single paper.
And it's important to say up front, a meta-analysis isn't just a summary, right? It uses statistical methods to combine results from all those studies,
Right.
which gives us a much more precise estimate of how different factors link up with teacher well-being than, any single study could manage on its own.
Okay.
And this one specifically uses the job demands resources theory, the JDR theory,
Mm.
as a framework, sort of a way to organize everything.
Ah, okay. JDR.
Yeah. Think of it as suggesting that well-being at work boils down to the balance between the demands put on you.
Like workload, stress.
Exactly. And the resources you have to meet those demands, support, autonomy, skills, that kind of thing. We'll definitely see this tension play out as we go through the factors.
That's a really helpful frame to keep in mind. And I mean, the context for all this is that growing global recognition that teacher well-being isn't just like a personal nice to have.
No, it's fundamental.
It's fundamental to the whole education system's health. We're seeing more and more concern about teacher turnover, shortages,
Definitely.
and ultimately wanting to make sure teaching quality is high and students are doing well. It just makes sense, right? If teachers aren't thriving, it's got to be harder for the students to thrive too.
Absolutely. It ripples outwards.
Okay, so let's unpack this. The study starts by looking at the actual idea of well-being, and well, it turns out it's not just about feeling happy.
Right. And what's fascinating is they highlight these two main ways philosophers and psychologists have kind of conceptualized well-being.
Okay.
The first one is hedonia. At its core, it's about seeking pleasure and avoiding pain.
Simple enough.
In psychology, this usually translates to what we call subjective well-being, your overall sense of happiness. Are you feeling positive emotions, mostly free from negative ones?
Mm.
How satisfied are you with life generally?
Right.
Things like the PANAS scale, looking at positive and negative affect, or the SWLS, the satisfaction with life scale. Those are typical tools for measuring this hedonic side.
So that's the more immediate sort of day-to-day feeling good aspect. But the study also gets into eudaimonia. Now, that's a word maybe not everyone knows.
Yeah, it's less common parlance. Eudaimonia goes beyond just that fleeting happiness. It's more about living a life with purpose, fulfilling your potential, personal growth.
Okay, deeper stuff.
Exactly. It's about how well you're functioning as a human in a broader sense. So things like self-acceptance, having a purpose in life, positive relationships, feeling autonomous, like you're in control.
Mastery over your environment.
Environmental mastery, yeah.
Yeah.
Feeling competent. And that sense of continuous learning and growth. Riff's psychological well-being scale is a big one here, with its 6 factors, or Diener's flourishing scale. They try to capture this deeper eudaimonic well-being.
Okay, so if hedonia is feeling good, eudaimonia is more like living a good life, a meaningful life. That makes sense as a distinction, but then they also mention a third category they used, general well-being. What's that about?
Yeah, this was kind of a grouping for things that didn't fit perfectly into either hedonic or eudaimonic.
A catch-all?
Sort of. They put things like social well-being in there, that
Yeah.
sense of connection, belonging in your community, and also subjective vitality.
Vitality.
Yeah.
Or energy.
Yeah, that feeling of being alive,
Mhm.
energetic. Tools like the mental health continuum, the MHC, or the subjective vitality scale, SVS, get used for these more general aspects.
Okay, so 3 buckets, hedonic, eudaimonic, and general. Now, the study does mention domain-specific well-being, like occupational well-being for teachers. Why wasn't that like a main category here?
That's a really good question. They acknowledge occupational well-being, how teachers feel at work, is obviously relevant, super
Mm.
relevant.
Right.
But they found that a lot of the existing models for occupational well-being tend to mix up the experience of well-being with the things that cause it or result from it.
Oh, okay, so they blur the lines a bit.
Yeah. Like a model might include workload or your sense of efficacy as part of occupational well-being itself. But this meta-analysis, they wanted to stick to those more established definitions, hedonic, eudaimonic, general,
Yeah.
and then see how those play out for teachers.
I see.
So if a study measured, say, teachers' happiness at work, that's hedonic, or their sense of purpose in teaching, eudaimonic, or social connections at school, general, it got included. The focus was squarely on the experience of well-being itself.
Gotcha. Define the target clearly first, before looking at what hits it. Okay, speaking of influences, the next big chunk is key antecedents, the predictors, what leads to well-being. They start with individual differences and personal characteristics, so the stuff teachers bring with them.
Exactly. And here the analysis found some really significant predictors, both, negative and positive. Let's start with the negative ones.
Okay.
The study found that neuroticism was a particularly strong negative predictor, linked to lower hedonic, lower eudaimonic, and lower overall well-being.
Neuroticism, that's the tendency towards anxiety, worry, moodiness, right?
Precisely. And you can see how in teaching, with the constant interaction, the emotional labor, the unpredictability,
Yeah, it could really amplify those tendencies.
it could exacerbate underlying anxieties, absolutely. The other strong negative predictor they found was disengagement coping.
Disengagement coping, what does that look like?
It's basically strategies where you try to avoid dealing with stress. Maybe withdrawing, denial, just trying to ignore it.
Head in the sand.
Kind of, yeah. And the analysis linked that strongly to lower general and occupational well-being. Think of a teacher facing disruptive behavior who just, tries to tune it out and hopes it goes away.
Yeah, I can see how that wouldn't work long term.
Right. This study suggests it doesn't do much for their well-being. The stressor probably just sticks around or gets worse.
Makes sense. Okay, so those are the big negatives. On the flip side, what about the strong positive predictors from individual differences?
Several really stood out. Autonomous motivation came up as the strongest positive predictor for hedonic and overall well-being.
Autonomous motivation. Can you unpack that a little?
Sure. It's when your drive comes from within, from your interests, your values, your sense of purpose. You're doing it because you genuinely want to.
Not because someone's making you or you feel obligated.
Exactly. So autonomously motivated teachers are teaching because they love working with kids, or they're passionate about their subject, or they feel it's a meaningful contribution. This intrinsic drive seems to be a really powerful, sustainable source of happiness and well-being for them.
Yeah, that resonates. If your heart's in it, even the tough days probably feel more manageable, more worthwhile.
What else?
What? Hope was the strongest positive predictor for eudaimonic and overall well-being. But it's important here in psychology. Hope isn't just wishful thinking. It's got two parts. Believing you can achieve your goals, that's agency, and having clear pathways to get there.
So it's practical hope.
It's proactive, yeah. Teachers with high hope likely feel more purpose and fulfillment because they believe they can make a difference and they have strategies to handle challenges.
Okay, so internal drive, proactive hope. What about specifically for occupational well-being at work?
For that, the strongest positive predictor was competent satisfaction.
Feeling competent. Yeah. Feeling effective, capable in your role. When teachers feel like they're good at their job, skilled, making a positive impact on students, it hugely boosts their well-being within their professional life.
Makes total sense. And for that broader general well-being category,
Optimism was the strongest positive indicator there. Just that general tendency to expect positive outcomes, look on the bright side.
the glass half full approach.
Pretty much. It seems having that generally optimistic outlook contributes to that wider sense of social connection and vitality, even beyond just the job itself.
That's a really interesting mix of internal factors. The study also mentioned things like psychological capital and job competencies, having a generally positive influence too, right?
Yes, exactly. Well, they weren't always the single strongest predictor for every single type of well-being. Things like psychological capital, which bundles self-efficacy, optimism, hope, resilience together.
Like a personal resource toolkit.
Kind of, yeah. That reservoir of positive psychological resources.
Yeah.
And just feeling generally competent in teaching those consistently showed positive links across different aspects of well-being.
Right. Okay, so those are individual factors. Next category, interpersonal characteristics. This is about relationships, how teachers interact with others.
And this is where you really see the power of connection shine through. The study found the quality of teacher-student relationships had the strongest positive effect on hedonic, occupational, and overall well-being.
Wow, strongest for 3 types.
Yeah. That positive connection, that mutual respect and understanding with students. It seems to be a major driver of teachers' happiness, their sense of well-being at work, and their overall thriving.
It probably taps right into that core motivation many have, connecting with kids, making a difference.
Yeah, seeing that light bulb moment or just knowing you've created a safe space.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just students. Social relationships more broadly with colleagues, mentors, friends, family had the strongest positive effect on eudaimonic and general well-being. So support networks matter a lot.
Hugely. Feeling connected, having that support, positive interactions, it contributes significantly to that deeper sense of purpose, belonging, and just general vitality.
It makes perfect sense. We're social creatures. But what about the negative side of interactions? Did anything stand out there?
Yes. Perceived student disruptive behavior. That had a significant negative impact on hedonic, occupational, and overall well-being.
Yeah, can imagine.
Constantly dealing with misbehavior, it's incredibly draining, emotionally, mentally. Leads to stress, negative feelings, lower job satisfaction. I remember a friend teaching middle school. She said dealing with the constant low-level disruption was just the most exhausting part of her day.
Anyone who's been in a classroom gets that. And the study also mentioned trust briefly.
It did. While maybe not the strongest in terms of the statistical effect size, they highlighted that trust in colleagues, trust in leadership creates a more positive, supportive environment overall.
Which then fosters well-being.
Exactly. When teachers feel supported, believe in their colleagues and leaders, it just makes for a more secure, less stressful place to work.
Okay. Individual factors, interpersonal factors. The last category of antecedents is workplace characteristics. The job itself, the school environment.
Right. And here, maybe unsurprisingly, job demands in general stood out as a significant negative predictor, affecting hedonic, occupational, and overall well-being.
So workload, time pressure.
Workload, time pressure, admin burdens, the emotional intensity, basically all those things that require sustained effort and can lead to stress and burnout.
Yeah, no big shock there. We hear about teachers feeling overwhelmed constantly. What about positive workplace factors?
Several key ones emerged. Workplace climate, the general atmosphere, the culture, the social dynamics in the school had a strong positive link to hedonic well-being.
So a positive school vibe makes for happier teachers day to day.
Seems like it. A collaborative, supportive climate helps a lot. Then work-life balance showed a strong positive influence on general well-being. Absolutely. Having enough time and energy for life outside school seems vital for that broader sense of vitality and connection. And feeling capable in your role, job competencies, again, was positively linked to overall well-being.
So a supportive environment, good balance, feeling competent, key ingredients. Anything else from the workplace stand out?
Yes. The experience of meaningful work, that was a strong positive predictor for both eudaimonic and occupational well-being.
Meaningful work.
When teachers feel their work is important, that they're making a real difference, contributing to something valuable, it significantly boosts their sense of purpose and their well-being, both in their job and sort of in their life more broadly.
It really does all seem interconnected, doesn't it? Feeling competent probably helps you find meaning, which boosts well-being overall. Okay, so the study moved from antecedents to key consequences. What does well-being lead to?
Yeah, this is super important. It shows why focusing on teacher well-being isn't just, a nice thing to do. It has real tangible impacts. The study found job satisfaction was the strongest positive outcome across all types of well-being: hedonic, eudaimonic, general, and occupational.
Very clear link. Happier, more fulfilled teachers are more satisfied teachers?
Pretty much. It seems direct, but seeing the data back it up so strongly is valuable.
Definitely. What else does well-being lead to?
Occupational commitment. That sense of dedication, loyalty, wanting to stay in teaching. That was the strongest positive consequence, specifically for overall well-being.
So thriving teachers are committed teachers.
Much more likely to be, yeah. They want to stick with it.
And on the flip side, the main negative consequence linked to low well-being.
Sadly, turnover intentions. Yeah. That emerged as the strongest negative consequence, linked negatively to all types of well-being.
Thinking about leaving.
Exactly. Teachers struggling with well-being are, understandably, much more likely to consider quitting the profession, which has huge implications for stability, quality of education.
Absolutely. High turnover is such a damaging problem. So supporting well-being is basically a key retention strategy.
It absolutely is. Then this study looked at key correlates factors linked to well-being, but maybe not definitively cause or effect. in their model.
Things that just tend to go together.
Exactly. Like they found weak but statistically significant gender differences.
Hmm.
Male teachers tended to report slightly higher hedonic, occupational, and overall well-being.
Slightly higher?
Yeah, emphasis on slightly. The effect size was small, so it's not a huge factor, but it was there in the data.
Interesting. What else?
A small positive correlation between teaching experience and hedonic, eudaimonic, occupational, and overall well-being.
So more experienced teachers report slightly higher well-being.
On average, yeah. Maybe they've developed better coping skills or found more satisfaction over time, perhaps.
Plausible. But then there was a strong negative correlation.
Yes, a strong negative correlation between burnout and all 5 types of well-being.
Not surprising, really. Burnout feels like the opposite of well-being.
Exactly. Emotional exhaustion, cynicism, feeling ineffective.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally opposed to thriving. They're often seen as opposite ends of a spectrum.
Makes sense.
Similarly, work engagement, feeling energetic, dedicated, absorbed in your work, showed a strong positive correlation with hedonic, eudaimonic, occupational, and overall well-being.
The flip side of burnout, in a way.
Pretty much. And finally, general physical health had a strong positive correlation with general well-being. Our physical and mental states are deeply connected.
Right. Feeling good physically helps you feel good mentally and socially. Okay, the study also touched on moderating factors, things that might change the strength of these relationships.
Yeah, this part was more exploratory, looking at factors that might change how strongly something predicts overall well-being.
Okay.
They looked at things like the sample type, were they studying in-service teachers, pre-service teachers in training, or a mix?
Right.
In the educational setting, K-12 schools, teacher training programs, mixed settings.
Did they find anything interesting there? Any differences?
They did find some variations. Like, the link between job satisfaction and overall well-being seemed weaker in studies with only experienced in-service teachers compared to studies with mixed groups.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. And the effects of teaching experience itself and burnout also showed some differences depending on the sample. When looking at distress, teachers in K-12 settings showed a lower effect compared to mixed settings, maybe suggesting different pressures in different environments.
Possibly.
But they also noted that continuous factors like average age, average experience, percentage of female teachers in the sample, those didn't show significant moderating effects in this analysis, though they suggest more research could be useful there.
So it's nuanced. These moderators could be worth digging into more in the future. Okay, before we wrap up, the study does offer some important caveats, right? Things to keep in mind.
Absolutely. Crucial limitations. First, many studies were cross-sectional.
Meaning data taken at one point in time?
Exactly. Which makes it hard to nail down cause and effect. We see associations, strong ones, but we can't always say for sure which way the causal arrow points. Did low hope cause low well-being, or did low well-being erode hope? Or both?
Right. Correlation isn't causation.
The classic line, yes. Second, most data was self-reported.
Teachers reporting on their own experiences.
Yeah, which is common, necessary even for well-being research. But it opens the door to potential biases, how people see themselves, how they report things.
Always a factor with subjective stuff.
Third, they point out that hedonic and eudaimonic well-being have just been studied way more than general and occupational well-being.
So our understanding of those latter two might be less complete.
Potentially, yeah. We might know less about what specifically drives, say, social well-being or vitality compared to happiness or purpose. More research needed there.
Okay. Imbalance in focus.
And finally, they mentioned the possibility of conceptual overlap.
Meaning some concepts are really close to well-being itself?
Exactly. Some variables that showed super strong correlations, like autonomous motivation or hope. You could argue they already contained elements of well-being. Or job satisfaction, a strong consequence. Some might see that as part of occupational well-being.
It's that challenge of drawing neat lines around these complex human experiences.
Precisely. Doesn't negate the findings, but it's a nuance to remember with those really strong links.
Okay, wow. This has definitely been a comprehensive deep dive into a huge amount of research. So for you, the learner listening, what are the absolute core takeaways here?
Well, I think it's clear teacher well-being is incredibly complex. It's multifaceted. There are significant influences coming from the individual level personality, coping styles.
Right.
From the interpersonal level, those relationships with students, colleagues are critical.
Yeah.
And from the workplace itself, the demands, the climate, the resources.
It's all connected.
Totally. Your own traits and strategies can protect you or make you more vulnerable. The quality of relationships and the school environment are just crucial. And importantly, well-being isn't just about feeling good, it's directly linked to things like job satisfaction and whether teachers stay in the profession.
Yeah.
This meta-analysis, it really gives us a powerful, synthesized view from tons of research. It's a valuable shortcut, really, to understanding the core drivers here.
So considering all these factors, personal, relational, environmental, it leads to a really important question for you to think about. If you could make just one targeted change, either in a school's environment or maybe in a teacher's own approach, what single change might have the biggest positive ripple effect on overall well-being and then consequently on the quality of education itself?
That's a great question to ponder.
It really makes you consider the leverage points, doesn't it? Where could we get the most impact?
It really does, because ultimately, understanding and, more importantly, prioritizing teacher well-being,
Hmm.
it isn't just about being supportive of teachers, so that's important.
It's fundamental. It's essential for creating a thriving educational landscape and for the well-being and the future success of the students themselves.
Couldn't agree more. Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us. We hope it's given you a really valuable shortcut to getting a handle on this critical topic.